Okay. So, hello everyone. Welcome to my new Patreon. It actually has a couple of months, but now it's the moment to actually launch things. I'm pretty happy to have you here. And in this first live stream, I'm going to talk a little bit about me, about my objectives for this page, and what we can build together here. So, first of all, hello, my name is Tanya. I'm graphic designer working mostly freelance with two companies, Dead Alive Games in the field of board games, and Olmgard Press in the field of TTRPG books. And I'm a fantasy map illustrator. And in this first stream, I'm going to talk you a bit on how I come to like this path of drawing maps, of world building, and all of that to give you a little bit of context and to frame a bit what is my objective for this page. So, first question is how did I get to start working with maps? Like how did this happen? When did this started? And like this is going to sound very cliche, but like my passion for maps actually started through fantasy books. So not I don't this path didn't start with RPG games. It started with me falling in love with fantasy and sci-fi books. And this happened when I was 16 and I went to live with my father. And my stepmother, she was a Portuguese teacher. And when she knew that I had lost interest in reading in the last years, she was like, no, that can that can happen. Give me some time. He asked me why did I stop reading and all of that, and it was just like, give me some time. I will start to know you, and I will find out what you will like, and I will put you reading again. And after like 3 or 4 days, this is the cliche part. She handed me Lord of the Rings. Okay, I was 16 at the time, and suddenly she gave me this trilogy, and I was like, okay, let me check this. And I start reading, and I completely fell in love with the story. I completely fell in love with fantasy, and I've been reading fantasy and sci-fi ever since. But it was not the Lord of the Rings that made me actually fell in love with world building and maps. I mean, yeah, it was like the first thing, like, whoa, what's happening? There's this amazing world of fantasy beings and all of this. And that was really exciting for me. But the thing is that after reading Lord of the Rings and being like so in love by the books, I, of course, had to go check all books that there was in Portuguese at the time from Tolkien, because now I had to read everything that he ever published. And of course, I read The Hobbit. I read the Tom Bombadil stories, which are very fun. And I read The Silmarillion. And I know that The Silmarillion is not a book that a lot of people actually enjoy. And I understand, because especially now, the kind of fantasy books that people are into are much more like fast paced adventure and stuff like that. And the Silmarillion is not. Like, the Silmarillion is pure 100% like world building. You know, it's really like, I understand that it can be very dry. I understand that it can be, I don't know, I should read it again before I talk about it. But at the time, at least, I got completely fascinated in realizing that to write Lord of the Rings, Tolkien actually ended up creating this entire world from start to finish, like all these creation myths, which actually, like in that world, they are not specifically myths, they were real. But I think, like through time, it's what became the myths of that world. And I was absolutely fascinated immediately. I was like, okay, one day I want to do this. This is what I want to do one day. One day. And you have to remember that I was 16. Everything was one day. At 16, we think we have all the time in the world. And so for me, it was like, yeah, now I'm in secondary school and I'm, being a teenager, being a complex teenager. And but yeah, one day when I grow up and have time, uh, those kind of stupid things that we think life is going to be when we are 16. Either way, I kept reading fantasy, I kept reading sci-fi, um, I kept doing all of that. I kept being very interested in that world. And then I went to university. There was all the years of university. That was an entire period for me, where like a very complicated one. And then when I left university, in the first years after university, I was a bit of at a loss. I didn't know very well what I was going to do with my life. I My degree was on fine arts, uh, but I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with that and which way I would want to go. Um, there was my issues with drawing. Like I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life. And in the meantime, I actually went back to my 16-year-old dream. And at the time, I wrote an entire book, very probably very weird book, very out of the box, but it is fantasy, not the adventure kind, not the big war kind, but it is fantasy. And I started creating that world. The book actually got published here in Portugal, and that was the first time I actually draw a map, and it was for that world. You can see the map. The map is shared on my Patreon and on my Kara page. It's the first one. It's really where the journey began. And I still love that map to this day. It's very, like, it has something in it. I think it was because at the time I saw it just as a fun thing to kind of figure out. It got a very specific quality that, for several reasons, after that, I end up dropping a bit. But at the time that was my first map, that's when I started to do the map because I needed for the book. But in doing it, I realized how much I enjoyed it. I also realized that it was a kind of drawing that didn't give me like the same anxiety levels that at the time I was having with other kind of more illustrative drawing and more fine arts drawing and all of that. And so for me, it was like two in one. It's like I love doing it. I love the result. I love that it's world building connected, and it's a way that I can draw without having stress from it, which, like, drawing is something that I love, but it's a complex, it was in my past a very complex theme, which doesn't really matter for the story right now. uh, and this is how it started, and my idea was to focus on develop that world more. I did want to draw the characters, but it was like at the time it was impossible to start there. Um, and there was a lot of things that I wanted to do around that world. It didn't come to happen because, like, in the meanwhile, like sooner or later, I had to really focus on working. I started to have work. I started to have the possibilities of work. I couldn't have like my parents kind of supporting me forever. They were really nice. They did give me a couple of years for me to figure out what to do. And but at some point I needed to, also become more independent and have my own life. So I started working, but I created a rule for myself, and that was where things started to shift. And so the rule for myself was, if I wasn't dedicating to the project I wanted to dedicate to creating, to develop that world and that book and that series, then like every job I would get would have to somehow be connected with that dream and with that objective, because that was something that I really wanted to do. And if I was working for clients, but I was developing skills that would actually bring me closer to my dream, then all was good. And despite not being dedicated to the project itself, I was still working towards that project. That's how I started to work with book layout design, you know, and actually doing fantasy map commissions. Uh, that was, I had a couple of jobs before that as I was writing the book, but this was like the time where I really start not just taking like any small job that I could, that I have skills for, but actually deciding, okay, this is the direction I'm going to give to my career. So actually, in a sense, writing that book was fundamental for me to understand what I wanted to do professionally. And so I started to work as a book layout designer and as a fantasy map illustrator. It was a part of this was really cool. It got me to work with some very interesting authors and very interesting people that I knew along that path. And um, for the first years, I really enjoyed it. Um, what happened, and layout design and graphic design in general, I still enjoy very much to work for clients. Regarding the map commissions, something went wrong for me, which was it became very frustrating because every map I wanted to spend more time with it. I wanted to really develop things. I wanted to really make it way better, and I couldn't. I couldn't because the relation between the time I put on the map and what I was earning from the map was not um, was not balanced. And so what was happening was that I was burning out from doing a high amount of maps in a way that it was not satisfactory to me while making the bare minimum to survive. And at some point, like if you are a person who knows me, you will know, or if you come to know me with time, you will know that I don't function if I'm frustrated with what I'm doing. So what ended up happening was that when the opportunity came to work for Dead Alive Games, I took it as a way out of doing maps for clients. And for a time, my my thing was like, oh my god, I never want to do a map again in my life. Which of course we're here, so you know that it didn't went through. But for some time it was like this, like I am so tired of maps. I really don't want to do it. With time that became more of a no, I don't want to focus my map, like I don't want that my main uh, source of income is doing commission maps. but I do want to work with maps. I do love making maps. Yes, they can be addicting. Um, and by starting to do maps without being for clients, I think I brought more of that addicting part again to my work, which is actually exploring little things. And I want to do that much more in the future. But it's actually to go into the map and explore possibilities and ways of doing things, and constantly improving the way I do things, and having time to spend on those maps, because in the end is the actual drawing and developing part that I love. Being on maps, on graphic design, on layout design, is the actually doing the things that I enjoy and that bring me happiness and joy. um, so this is like how things started and get it to a certain point. But how did I get from there to what I'm trying to do here on Patreon? So at a certain point, I had this friend that is really into D&D, and she's also an illustrator. And she started to talking to me like, why don't you do battle maps? And you would love to like look at all of this world. And I knew about Dungeons and Dragons. I knew about RPGs, but I just knew about it. I didn't really know what it really was. And I was introduced to all this world, and that 16 years old feeling that I was talking before, when I read the Silmarillion and interacted with world building for the first time, came back, and I was like, oh my god, this is really really amazing. And so suddenly, like, this dream of building worlds reignited and shift a little bit, because one of the things is that this is one of the things that I felt with my world that I did for my book, is that, like, with all honesty, I still want to go back to that world. But what happened was, when I started to need to work, when my free time to dedicate to my own projects became very limited, suddenly it was not enough, because every time I had a little bit to work on that world building, like, it was so big that by the time that I had finally, like, put all the structures in place and got in the world again and remember all the little things, I didn't have any more time. I didn't have time to actually advance on the project. Every time I tried to, I was only able to put myself in pace again with what was before. And it was overwhelming. It was very overwhelming. It wasn't when I had, like, all the time in the world and could create when I wanted and could recharge when I wanted, and didn't have much responsibilities in my life. But once that changed, it became very hard and overwhelming to deal with such a big world. But starting small, like with kind of a smaller world, a smaller piece of a world, seems much more achievable. And I started to play with this idea. And about 3 years ago was when, 3, 4 years ago, was when I decided, no, I'm really going to advance with this. I reduced my time of work for clients. And I was like, yeah, like, I'm going to spend, at the time I had a huge burnout. And it was when I started kind of those things, as I took some time for client work. And I started this by making the map of a village. It's called Iradur Village. And the next live stream, I'm going to talk to you, like, I'm going to speak all about Iradur Village and the initial lore that I have for it, and all of the things that I want to invite you to participate in regarding that. But just for this introduction, so I created this village. And in this village, there are several places, several spots. Like, there's the inn, of course. There's the forest, there's the portals of the forest, there's some buildings from some, like there's the barracks, there's a lot of spaces. And then I started creating the battle maps for those places. Um, and it like I really enjoy this, but I think for these 4 years it has been a trial and error to balance working for clients and having time to do this, because despite um, despite the fact that I reduced my working hours, I also started to realize some of my limits, and especially regarding mental health, neurodivergency, and all of that. I started to have a different notion of why some things didn't work in my life, and why was I always burning out, and why whenever I try to advance on other things, things seem not to work. And I'm going to be honest, it was some 4 years of learning a lot on how not to do things, which is good because now I feel like I have the knowledge and structure to actually make this happen. And I'm being very honest because I actually have the Patreon open since April last year, I think, like the page itself. But I didn't start really serious until right now, because I still felt that there was things that I needed to balance, because I want that what I create here be something sustainable, something that I can keep with, and something that I'm not going to crash by, but I am really going to be able to build piece on top of piece until I can have like something that is long term sustainable, and that maybe not mandatory, but maybe one day can allow me to live from my personal projects. I'm not expecting that it's going to be my only source of income. I also have my maps selling in some shops, so there will be other sources of income. But the dream is there. I don't know if I will get there. I have a nice job. I have nice clients. So like I'm not super stressed with that. But the dream is there. Um, and so I started this now. And where do I want to go? I already talked about maps. And I'm starting with the maps. Why? Because it's something that I can do right now, and that I can be delivering value to you like right now. Okay. And this is where I'm starting. Maps. I know how to draw maps. I know how to create maps. And through maps, I can start giving the first steps for what I actually want to do regarding this Hyradur village. And that is to create the entire lore. So if I'm telling you what is like my final vision for like this little corner of this world, and to future worlds that I might be working if everything goes as I plan, is I have the village map. I have the battle maps for all these places, but I would also like to develop the lore, the full lore of the village, with characters that are part of the village, that are NPCs, having illustrations of the village, like landscape illustrations and all of that, and character illustrations, and have like a compendium, like a book with all the lore and characters and all of that, and then a compendium of all of these assets, so that you could basically take this lore and these characters and these NPCs and these maps and create whatever story you want in there. You don't have to keep the lore, but having that base where you can create all your adventures there. And that's the final goal. I can see the book, I can see the characters, I can see all that. The maps is where I'm starting. I talked before about that there was like my path with drawing has not been a very straight one. There was a lot of issues with me in drawing, mental blockages, stuff like that. And it's been a hard, like, this is the thing. Drawing is one of the things that I love the most doing, but it's not. I wasn't born talented, if you know what I mean. I've been drawing since I am, like, I drew a lot when I was a child. There's a whole story there on why I stopped. And but I've been drawing regularly since I am 15. And believe me, I'm not at the level of someone who did this, who study arts, who was in arts university. It's not there, and I'm still learning drawing. I'm still exercising drawing. Like, I'm starting. I already start following some drawing lessons and tutorials. So I want to get there. I want to get to a point where I can say, yeah, I'm going to draw these characters. I'm going to draw this landscape. I'm going to draw this interior. I'm going to draw this and connect that with what I already have from the village. But all of that can take me some time to get to that point, and maps is something I can be delivering right now. And as I deliver the maps, we can be developing the lore, we can be developing the characters, we can be developing all of that part together. And that's really like my goal here, because I'm going to make one thing very, very clear, which is what I'm trying here is not to create a map shop or an assets shop. I have that. I have a map shop where I have my maps for sale. I have it in markets like that. I have on other places. What I want here, what I would like to have here, it's more of a community that is more oriented to actually building worlds together. Because one of the things, and I talked that I learned a lot of the things why my projects weren't working. And one of the things that ironically I noticed was that, because like in my jobs with my clients, especially at Dead Alive Games, there's a lot of brainstorming going on. There's a lot of ideas coming back and forward. There's a lot of this like creative dynamic that when I'm working alone on my projects is not there. And this is ironic because if you know me a little bit, you know that I am like a huge introvert, like huge introvert, and like the kind that spends most of the time at home alone, and still complains that there's too much energy spending on keeping friends when I spend like 9% of my time, 90% of my time alone. So that's how much of an introvert I am. But then what I miss when trying to be in my personal projects is exactly the creative interaction between people. And so, also because I'm not going to be like, if we're talking about map shop, and not I don't have anything against anyone using Patreon as a map shop. um but the thing is, if like, not only that's not aligned with my objectives, but I have no way to compete with other artists that are doing that. And I'm not even going to try to compete with them, because I really, I don't want to like, of course I want to create quantity of maps, but that's not my objective. What I really enjoy is not to create a bunch of maps constantly, that are just using assets to being built. Again, I have nothing against anyone that does that. Everyone, as in my opinion, has the right to do their creative stuff in their way. But for me, the joy of it, the joy of all of this, is in the actual drawing. It's in actually painting. Is the time that I am drawing and painting. Is the actually creation of the lore, the writing, the creative process. All of that is what drives me. All of that, it's what gets me really excited and gives me really like a profound joy and a sense of fulfilling. And that's what I want to do in this page with a community. You know, it's to get into that feeling of being able to create from the things that make me happy, and not simply become someone who again is doing something that it's not what makes me happy, and will end up making me frustrated just to get money. And it's not that. As I said before, like, I would love that one day my personal projects grew enough for me to live only of them, but it's not a need for me. I have an amazing job with amazing people that I really love, both the job and the people I work with. So it's not it's not a need for me. Okay, I really hope that things grow in that direction, but I'm more worried in creating something sustainable, something that the people who come here enjoy being a part of, and creating a community, even if it is a small community, around all of this. Now, since I already talked about some of the things that made my personal projects objectives flunk in the past, let's talk about the elephant in the room. What now? How are how am I going to prevent that from happening again? How can I be sure that what I'm doing is long-term sustainable? Well, one of the things is, as I already said, that during these years, there was a lot of things going on in my life, things that made my life much better. That I'm not going like in huge detail about my personal life, but just for you to understand, there was a lot of things that happened in these 3 to 4 years that brought a lot of clarity about some of my difficulties, about what to do, about how to deal with them. And it's still a journey. I'm still learning, but I'm at least a better point that I was back then. A good enough point for me to be able to actually start to understand where I was failing to myself, what was not working, and what can I create to make it work. This means that I actually integrated some structures that I have in my job with Dead Alive Games, some workflow structures into my personal projects. One of them, for instance, is the task sheet, which is basically a Google sheet where I put, like, I can organize all the tasks that I have. So when I sit down to start working, I don't have to be thinking in what I have to do or deciding what I have to do. I don't get into analysis paralysis or decision paralysis because of that. I just need to follow the tasks that I have there. uh so that's freaking awesome. Yeah, and it, like, the stupid part is that this is what we created at Dead Alive Games exactly to help me to deal with my work, and it works so well. And just because I hadn't understood yet that that kind of structure was missing from my personal projects, and that was exactly the reason why things felt so overwhelming and so hard, was related to that structure that is created for me in both my work to Dead Alive Games and my work with Olmgard Press. but that I wasn't creating for myself in my personal projects. Well, now I did. Now I did. It's flowing much better. I think it's working. Like most of the work I've been doing so far is hidden work. Was preparing all the things like behind um, like more like logistics preparations. Let's say it like this, like on how to make these things work. So part of it was that. Another part of it is also goal setting, very simple goal setting. And most of all, very realistic goal setting, because sometimes you just lose the sight of where you're going, and if you are neurodivergent, you know what I'm talking about. Maybe if you're neurotypical, you also know what I'm talking about. But especially for neurodivergence, it's very easy that you end up like you have the big adventure. The adventure is that way. That's the road, you know. But then you go on side quests. How to make them realistic? I'm going to get there. Because you go into side quests, and I have a lot of side quests because I have a lot of ideas and I have a lot of things that I would like to do. And it's very easy when you have so many ideas that you lost track of your goals. And of course there are the big goals, like those, like the final goal that it's huge and that makes you feel overwhelmed. What I'm trying to do is like small goals by periods. So, for instance, let me just put this here. Um, so, for instance, this first set of goals is like short term goals. It's for the first 3 months. I'm going to make this quarterly, like I'm going to refresh the goals, like reevaluate and see where to go from there every 4 months. But just to, because this has to start in February, because that's when I started to work on this. And so the first one has to be 3 months, so that then it goes to the 4 months, because otherwise it won't be like, aligned with the year, with the number of months of the year. And I need that structure. So the first 3 months, it's February, March, and April. And to be 100% transparent with you, um, I will tell you exactly the goals that I have for these 3 months. So the first goal, and more important of all for me, it's to get back to have this creative routine in the practical sense, like work on the maps, the maps illustrations weekly, every week, you know. And my because I have my job, my time is very limited. But, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit at the end. But basically, the day of the week that I have that is completely scheduled to work on my projects is Monday, and it's an entire full day of work, just for my Patreon, just for my maps, just for this project. And there is uh, there is things like maintenance stuff that I have to do for this to work, like scheduling posts and do the invisible tasks that these kind of projects have, and that people sometimes have no idea how much work is behind, besides actually creating the art. But the thing is not getting so lost in that I'm not drawing, and that happened before. So my first big goal, wait, I'm not being able to see this. Setting a recurring date then is one key. For me, it has to be because my work for clients require that I have time for the client work. And so Tuesday, Wednesday, and then I have like this is 100% honesty. I can't do 40 hours of work per week. I just can't. I tried, believe me. I spent most of my adult life trying to do that. I can't. One of the things that changed a lot in me in these last 3 to 4 years was to accept that as a neurodivergent, I have needs, I have limits. I can do amazing things if I respect that. If I don't respect that, I will also do amazing things, but I will burn out. And then I will spend a lot of time not being able to do amazing things. And that is not sustainable. And it's super frustrating. And so I have this thing where Monday is just for this. And it's Monday because it's the first day of the week is when I'm rested. I hope. Normally I'm rested. Um, it's when I can be more creative, and I'm dedicating that time specifically to my project. It's putting my projects as a priority. Okay. Does that mean that I won't work on my projects on other days? Not really, because, oh no, so do I need to schedule rest too? I do. I do. That's an important part. I mean, we can have one day one live stream regarding that, but yes, like if you see my daily schedule, I have the rest moments there. I have the self-regulation activities there. I have all of that. But I'm very routine schedule oriented. Not everybody can live like this. But yes, I have all of that. We have to rest too. And then the thing is, for me, weekends have to be, in general, have to be no demand days. No demand means that there's nothing that I am obligated to do. Okay, these are like really having no having let your brain rest from demand. And I found that that's really important. That doesn't mean that I can't do stuff. I can do stuff, and if it's Saturday and I have nothing to do, and what I feel like doing is paint a map or go drawing or doing anything like that, I can do it. It's not like, oh, I can't work on weekends. No, I can work on weekends. I can paint on weekends. I can create on weekends. But it's not, I have to. It's a choice. And if I feel like it, I will do it. And I'm really hoping that that happens, because once I started to get excited, once like when I see things starting to happen, I start getting excited, and when I start getting excited, I start wanting to do more of that stuff. And so it's very probable that it happens. But for me, the first step is to start creating this drawing routine every week. So for these first 3 months, the objective is work on the maps themselves, the illustrations, at least once a week, at least on Monday, and create this kind of routine where this becomes absolutely natural for me, and it's just a part of my life again, because it was in other times. Now, the second objective, and this is going to start this month, it's release 2 finished map packs. And these are map packs that I have already done. And it's a way to kind of start delivering content, because I want to make one thing very clear. I already talked about this, but I really draw the maps from scratch, and it takes time. It takes me time. I'm not a fast drawer, nor a fast painter, and I really want to enjoy the creation part. I already have a job, and I really want to enjoy this part. I don't want to be a stress. I don't want to become frustrating to the point that I don't want to do this anymore. But I will start releasing some map packs that I have, and I want to release two in these first 3 months. I'm going to kind of slowly drop them so that I can be delivering value for a longer time. When I don't have any more already done packs to deliver, things can get a bit slower. And what I'm saying is, I may not have a complete pack every month, but you are going to receive things as they are finished. So I finished the map, you will receive it. I finished the variants, you receive them. I finished the versions, because sometimes I have different versions. Like, um, for instance, I have a portal, like a magic portal, and you have the portal activated and the portal not activated, and you have the variants for each. And I'm going to delete, and then you have the foundry modules too. So there's all this work, and I'm always be delivering this stuff as they get done. But in the beginning, you're going to receive full maps. The first one will be the one from the actual village, Aradur village. And that one you're going to receive this month, so that next live stream we're going to talk about it, and you already have like the entire pack. The third goal is to create one new map pack. Okay, and this one I'm going to choose what I'm going to do for this new map pack. What about the lore? I'm going to talk about the lore on the next live stream. I'm still not sure I'm going to do the lore part, because I have a base one, and I'm going to, in the next live stream, I'm going to like uh, show you the lore, and we can build from there together. Okay, that's why I want to do that live stream about Iradur village, so that we can start actually having a conversation about lore, and now we can head to it and have funny ideas together. Is this community kind of feeling is one thing that I would love to have in this page, where these live streams can be whatever you want. You will have power of choice. I'm only exerting my power of choice alone in these first two live streams. After that, it can be whatever you want. But one thing that I think it would be very funny is that we use these live streams to actually go through the lore and build it together as I talk about the maps. And I think that can be really, really funny. And then as I get all that info, I will have to compile that into like writing it a little better and do all that. And that is also going to be delivered to you. Probably I can also deliver in parts, and then at the end have the full book and have that as a like the final project, but I can be releasing parts of it to you as we go to, I'm there's a little, actually not a little, there's a lot of freedom on how this is going to evolve, because I have my objectives and my goal and where I want to go, but I also want to make this a place that is yours. And I also want your feedback on what is valuable to you. And please, parts, it helps to digest and gives continuity. Yeah, I believe so. I believe that distributing parts for each map, like, I think a good idea is like for each map that gets delivered, we talk about the map on the live stream. We do all this brainstorming. Uh, we get your ideas in. I write like the lore for that specific map, and then I deliver that lore too. And we can be building this slowly, and then at the end we have. I will like compound everything into into like one book, hopefully one big book. But yeah, makes all sense to deliver in parts. And so yeah, this is my initial idea, and we will ideally we will grow together, but I'm 100% we delivering in parts. Yes, also because I want to deliver value. I really want to deliver value. I'm not here just like, oh, give me your money so that I can do what I want. No, it's not that. it's really important to me that the people that come to this community feel that they are receiving value for what they are giving, and that it's really something that they feel thrilled about too. And so I will also let people choose after we go through Iradru Village. I will also let people choose, like, which map I'm going to do next, with like which direction we go. This first new map pack that I want to create in this first trimester, in this first 3 months, I'm going to choose it just because I need something um, more simple, so that I don't get overwhelmed while I'm trying to create these new routines and these new frames for my life and these new habits and all of that. And so this one I'm going to choose, but after that you will also be able to choose where we go next. What's the next map to be built within the village? um then the others are more like the next goal is it's a more um, logistics one. It's to build a consistent posting routine, both on Patreon and on the few social media that I have. And then there are like two goals here that are not 100% in my hands, but they are here for me to remember, which is in these first 3 months, reach 5 paid Patreons and 10 free Patreons. Like really low numbers, because if we go like, this is what I mean with realistic goals. I could put there, yeah, 20 patrons. Nah, that's not going to work. And this is also something that I wanted to talk to you, to the people that are live here and to the people that see this in the future, because I like to be 100% honest and transparent. And I think this is important, which is, with all of this said, what are the things that I find that will be my biggest challenges regarding this page? And the first one is the time thing, the time issue. How much time do I have to do these things? And it is true that how this, like, uh, the as this page grows, and as my shops grow, and as everything of that grows, and I start to have some income from here, I can start to cut down more hours from my job and having more time. But right now it is limited, and I'm not here to lie to anyone. It is limited, and that limited time connected with creating enough value for all of you that want to join this community can be a bit scary, because I'm scared that I'm just not being fair in some way, that I'm not being able to give enough. But I'm also not going to be unfair to myself and go back to demand from me what I can't give and what will make me at the end burn out again, which is something that I really want to avoid, because it's burning out. It's not fun. Okay, burning out, it's not fun. And I'm finally feeling more stable, and I want to keep it that way, at least in general. So there is this balance that I have to keep between delivering you enough value, and at the same time respecting my limits and creating something that ends up being a good thing for everyone involved. Um, and I think I actually believe that passes through creating something that from my side is sustainable long term. And so there is this all of these elements that are kind of interconnected, where it may seem like I could give more, but if I try to give too much too soon, I may end up giving less in the long term. And I would love for this to be like a crescent and not like a decrescent or something that it's up and down all the time. And I think and the other very challenging thing that I'm going to have is that I am not a social media person. And when wherever you go and read about creating a Patreon, you will read that first you have to create a good following. And I don't have that. I don't have, like, I tried. I'm going to be honest, I tried. It was one of the things that I tried a lot for these past 3 years, and I failed all the time. And I think that a huge part is because I don't like the meta social media mentality. I don't like what's happening there. I don't feel good. And so it's not like, it's very hard for you to create value on something and to really create engagement when you are not engaged. If I'm not engaged with um, with Instagram that much, how can I hope that people actually create engage with me in there? And so this is a headed difficulty um, in terms of growing my page. But either way, that doesn't affect so much my creative part. It will just delay the time that it will take me to to get more income coming, but that doesn't affect my creative work that much. Actually affects positively, because what was happening is that I was spending so much both actual time and mental energy into creating posts for social media that I didn't have time to actually work on the maps. And then I didn't have any return from social media because, people just don't, things just don't click. And so I share stuff. I met Kara and I like Kara, and I met Patreon. I do share posts on Pinterest, and I think that's it. And like, Pinterest is very easy. You just put things there and it's a long-term investment. Kara, I really enjoy being there. I love going there at the end of the day, see a lot of art. And I'm going to stay with the things that I love. And Patreon, I hope to build a community and have something really nice. Yeah, they are socials and not connecting anyone for real. I don't think what, like, things like Facebook and Instagram and Twitters and all of that, but especially the meta ones, I don't think of them as social media anymore. They are enterprise media. They are all like, if you see the algorithm, if you see the kind of posts, if you see, they are focused on selling something, selling a person, selling a product, selling people as products. It's about selling, it's about marketing, it's about everything. Like, I'm from the time where social media was social media, when there was no algorithms, where you went there to really share yourself and to connect with others, and that was it. Like, you didn't need to know marketing rules. It was not about marketing. It was not about selling products. It was not about selling yourself as a product. I enjoyed social media when it was really social media. It's not anymore. I'm sorry, it's not. And I think what I like in Kara is that I'm not saying that it's exactly how it was before, but it gives me more of that feeling. If I don't go there for a week, I still see like most posts from the people I follow, like, of the entire week. I can still see them because they are there chronologically. It's not so much about marketing and pushing content into you. Like, I've seen someone at Kara saying, like, I come here and post like once a month and people see my post. and there's not the same pressure to be constantly posting, to know what to post, because you have to post images and reels and videos and short videos and long videos and this and that. And now this is what's going, and like, this is the trend now, and now is that. And like, no, I don't want to be a marketing expert. I want to be an artist, a creator, a world builder. That's what I want to be. And so I prefer, one thing that I realize is that I prefer to have mental energy and time to actually do the art, um, to actually build a community, even if it's small, here on Patreon, even if it takes time to get there, and to not be draining myself with something that in the end it's not what I'm supposed to be, and it's not where I want to go. I know that it's something that somehow I have to work. I know that some way I have to do at least little things here and then to try to reach people, but I'm not going to sell my soul to Meta. Actually, I don't post anymore on Meta since Meta AI. So that's going to be a huge challenge, to grow this page without social media. And I don't even know if that's possible, but I'm crazy enough to try. And in the end, even if this is only like a small even if the only thing that I can build here is a very small community, I will still be happy. Like, yeah, the big dream is create a community big enough that together with my shops, I can not have to rely on clients' work. But if that isn't to happen, it's okay too. So I'm a bit like, I'm going to try and do my best. I'm going to try and bring my best to this project and to give my best to you in this community. But I don't want to transform this into a competition to see who does more or who sells more, or it's really about the creating something together. And that's why I'm framing this a lot as a journey we do together. It's actually building the worlds with you, working with you, giving this sense of constructing something together, something that, yes, it's a bit my vision, but it's also like a group thing, a community thing, something that in the end you can have in your hands and be like, yeah, there's a little bit of me in this lore, there's a little bit of me in these characters, there's a little bit of me in these maps. And that is in the end my big objective to this page. So I hope you enjoyed this first live stream. I don't know if you have any additional questions. If you have, let me know. If you're seeing this after being posted, after being live, feel free to drop any comments, suggestions, and all of that in the comments on Patreon or on YouTube. And next month, this month, you are going to receive the first map pack, for the Hyradur Village map pack. And the I loved you talking true to yourself. Thank you. Yeah, I'm trying to be true to myself and to the people here. And let's meet next month to actually go through the Hyradur village, start giving the initial lore that I have, and start building together from there. Okay? Have a lovely, and I love the setting. Yeah, the setting is very comfy. The setting is very comfy. I gave up on doing this on my table. At some point I may need to, because I may need to be showing stuff and all, but it's very comfy setting here. I'm much more like flowing than if I have to be seated in my chair, my working chair all the time. So I think I'm thinking in adopting this one. So okay, see you next month. Thank you for being here, and let's start this journey together. Bye bye.